not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions.
That by the time you realize what you've lost, it's usually already too late about the trial. So you eventually get moved to a place where you are now with other women. But it wasn't until after her push to prosecute the officers who killed Freddie Gray that she found herself on the other side of the courtroom. Donald Trump's administration has ordered federal to prison employees to be placed on leave by today. Turn his TV.
We're going to have to turn our TVs off. Good morning, America.
Good morning. I am all of a sudden I'm the one having some technical difficulties, but I'm okay. It's Neil, and good morning, Black America. First,
okay. America is black to me. America is black to me. So when I say good morning in America, we know who I'm talking to.
but listen, I'm gonna tell you something. We the revolution will not be televised. So that's an example I cite. This is my opinion. Views expressed by me is certainly my views, not necessarily that of. But
NPA, Black US, Black Press USA.
but we hear stuff like, and we all know, a lot of us, most of us know the revolution will not be televised and stuff. And we hear stuff like that, and we hear great stuff over our lifespans and the history of Black folks, and we recite them and stuff for entertainment and to have our ears tickled. But this is some real stuff. It just shows you how great, in my view, how individuals were, Black individuals were, who did the revolution will not, what's his name? Revolution will not be televised. He could see this stuff coming. Right. Malcolm X could see this stuff coming. King could see this. You had individuals, just got here on from Harlem. Greer had to throw in from Harlem.
Gil,
could be from Queens,
not
right?
to be Gil, not to be mixed with Jilly from Philly.
Jilly from Philly, I like that. But as you all know, folks, MSNBC parted ways. I got a lot to say this morning. I'm gonna start with this though, since we starting here. But they parted ways with 4 prominent Black women over the last few years, and Joy Reid being the latest casualty. She joined Rashida Jones, who was the first Black woman to head a major cable news network. Melissa Harris Perry, y'all remember her? Tiffany Cross, who my little brother Steve loves some Tiffany Cross. These women, they gave us unflinching perspectives on race, politics, and power. And yet, what does MSNBC do? What do? They hold on to the guy and the girl in the morning that kissed the ring immediately, Joe and Mika, right? It's a message that independent Black voices are just expendable, and bending power is rewarded. And this extends far beyond MSNBC. It's a calculated assault on the free press. It's and I was so glad last night that the Win for Black Women, Win for Black Men came together because of this, because they see again the dangers of what's going on, particularly because we got to look out for ourselves. Time comes to look out for yourself, and we got to look out for ourselves. And Orange G says he's going to say the quiet part out loud. Michael Steele, Al Sharpton, Simone, and others that appear on MSNBC is the real problem. They are not standing up or with joy.
Well, people got to pay their bills. Okay, let's be real. People got to pay their bills. So let's be here. People got to pay their bills. But I think that's why, for me, I've always worked in Black spaces. And this is why, because it gives you the opportunity to be unapologetically Black. So I hope that we don't tarry too much on mainstream media, but that all of us find a way to support Black owned media, because that's where we thrive. The money is not there, but the money can come there, because we know that everything is transactional in white America. Everything is transactional. It's all about the money. And so instead of us dwelling on narratives that really, in mainstream media, that really don't tell our story, maybe we can focus on Black owned media and focus on our own narrative. That's what I hope comes out of this.
And exactly. And it leads me to the other thing I had to say this morning, because Friday I was heated. I was totally heated.
Oh yeah, you was hot as fish grease.
And you know what? Here's the thing. I make no apologies for it. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it's time to wake up. This ain't about politics. It's about survival. You can vote, like I said, how you want. You can believe what you want. But what you won't do is sit here, look at Black folks in their face, and call us blind while you're out here capping for the very system that's crushing you and your loved ones, or your so-called loved ones. Fight the power is what Chuck says, right? But some of these folks, they hugging that power. You grinned, she came on this show, and her and people like her grinned at Trump's fraudulent Black History Month celebration, smiling for the cameras. And then what happens immediately? 4-star general, Black man, CQ Brown, 40 years of service. They replaced him with a white man who needs a waiver just to qualify. And Hesketh comes out and pretty much says, as Orange G would say, the quiet part out loud. They fired him simply because he's Black. You can't make this up. And while these people want to keep sipping the Kool-Aid, boom, Trump suspended the 1890 Scholars Program, taking tuition out of HBCU students' pockets. Boom, slash federal jobs where nearly 400,000 Black people work, putting them in terror, gutted the Postal Service, a backbone for Black employment. He's waving the axe like it's a parade, and this chick and others like her come on here capping along.
You know what?
They talk about reverse racism. Wait a minute, stop it.
Listen. Everybody has a chance to say their piece. And I hope that we have more MAGAs on, Black MAGAs on, because I think it's a healthy dialogue. I think these conversations are important. But let me tell you, you've just listed 100, not 100, but multiple names that have been fired. And all this whole 20, 30 days of Trump, all I can hear is that meme that we created. Who's going to tell them that one of them jobs might be a Black job? I feel like Trump and his administration are sending us a message. I honestly feel that way. Oh, you want to talk about a black job? You want to know who's going to have a black job? None of y'all Negroes going to have a black job. I feel like that is the message that the Trump administration is sending to us. I feel like he's sending it to Michelle Obama. Like, I'm going to show you what a black job is. It ain't going to be no black jobs. That's what I get from the Trump administration.
Well, he is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, and so to all those black folks that were at the White House on Thursday, ain't none of them Negroes got a black job in the Trump administration. They just got an invite in a hot room, in a hot sweat box.
Yep, exactly. Because
that's what they got.
This man ain't just playing the game. He's rewriting the rules to erase you. Look at the receipts. We know what he called black nations, right? Bleep holes, right? He said black folks are dumb and low IQ. He refused to rent to black tenants back in the day until the DOJ checked him on that. We know he's called for the execution of the innocent 5, right?
The exonerated 5.
Yes, convicted on 34 felonies, but walks free. And talking about, and black folk, oh, we can relate because he's convicted. No, you can't relate. He walks free. And here's the thing: 1 in 8 black people in Florida can't even vote, right? And they call that related. They can't vote because they have felonies. Trump voted. He voted. That's privilege on full blast. So you can hit the pause on that. Look at the judges he's appointed in his first term. 226 appointments, right? Only 9 were blacks. 9. And that was the lowest since Ronald Reagan.
Ain't no black jobs in the Trump administration. Right. Ain't no black jobs.
Yeah.
It might be some tokens, but ain't no black jobs.
He is not just ignoring these Negroes who toe tap for him. He's erasing you, folks. Then he tells you, he tells everybody it's Black History Month, but his administration is telling you that they're scrubbing Black History, any type of identity month. And he's telling schools at the same time, cut diversity or lose funding. They're taking history out of the classrooms. And while these Negroes are standing there grinning like everything is sweet. But we see the sellouts. We see the gaslight. You know, you back this man who he called Omaroso and other black women in Congress dogs. He blocked the Harriet Tubman from being on the $20 bill. You remember that?
I still want my Harriet Tubman dub. I want my 20 dub with Harriet Tubman. I still believe I'm gonna get my $20 bill with Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. And so your black MAG are gonna say, we the ones sleeping? No, they are chained to self-hate, shackled by empty promises. While he throws rallies in sundown towns, they parade like it's fine. So like I said, fight the power. You know, it's like that, but they want to hug the power, and that's really. I just wanted to get that off my chest, Noel. I mean,
it's fine, but I'm gonna need you to get that temper together because we're gonna have more black megas on because we're gonna have these conversations. They're healthy conversations to have.
Listen, you don't bring a knife to a gunfight. I'm bringing my 6-shooter.
Okay,
but, here's something good though. Let this be a lesson to Joe Biden and Barack Obama and all of those folks who thought it was the best thing to do to attend the inauguration and all that stuff. The Philadelphia Eagles said, take your invitation to the White House and stick it. We are
thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
And so, hey, before it was the Eagles, it was Michelle Obama. Okay, she said she's not going.
Yeah. And Michelle didn't go. Yeah, right.
She said she's not going.
Well,
and so did wait. We have to give Mike Pence's wife credit too, because she didn't go either. And I remember at that Jimmy Carter funeral, she didn't even acknowledge the Trumps at all. So she took a play from Michelle Obama's book, and so I applaud her for that. You know what I'm saying? The men, it's always the women. I'm sorry, Stacey, but it's always the women.
Listen, I talk about
who lead. Okay, white or black, both them, white woman, black woman. They said enough is enough. I am not going to sit here and be docile, meek, and mild. As Langston Hughes said, docile, meek, and mild. God forbid the day we change our minds. Langston Hughes said it.
Yeah.
They
And
changed their minds and they said, no, I'm not going with the status quo. I ain't showing up. And that said volumes.
somebody under the screen name The Big Cheese said that Trump is keeping most of his promise he made to his white supremacist base vote and is being bold and unapologetic. And it's interesting that this individual writes that, because I just saw a video. Somebody put together a great video of the vice president, the former vice president, Kamala Harris, that included the debate with Trump and other interviews. And some other folks was in the video too, in which they have listed, they this is last year now, where they listed every single thing, didn't miss a beat in what was going to happen if he, from January 20th, if he was going to win the election, if he was going to be inaugurated. They listed it's every single thing that they said. I wish I could find that video back. I should have shared it with Greer, but it was so interesting. And the Big Cheese mentions that, and so I thought it was very interesting. I'm gonna quickly though. I want to just segue to something real quick before we get to some hard news. We got a couple of guests this morning as well, folks. Looking forward to that conversation. So we've talked about Rolling Stone magazine in the past, right?
Right.
And with their list and things like that. And I saw something interesting that again, they are so out of touch. So they talked about Michael Jackson's Thriller album. Rolling Stone did a piece, and they listed the worst song, what they call the worst song on the album. And that song is a song called The Lady in My Life. And many might, if you're a Michael Jackson fan, you all know that song. It's one of the nicest ballads Michael's ever done.
Which one now?
And
Which one are we talking
The
about?
Lady in My Life.
Okay.
It's like, I just think that we cannot, and I think RNG, when we talked about Rolling Stone magazine before, he said it best. Like, I think it was him who wrote in, like, they have no legitimacy whatsoever. How do you say that song is the worst? When you can't put that song in a category of anybody's worst. I mean, if they would have picked, the sappy Paul McCartney song, maybe, but this thing, come on. But it made me think about this. I was also seeing a footage. It's a great footage, by the way, that I had never seen before, and I've seen just about every footage there is, I believe. Michael and the Victory Tour. The Victory Tour was probably the most exciting tour to ever happen, in my opinion.
Okay.
It really, it was, and now the word, check my words. I said perhaps the most exciting. I didn't say the best, most exciting, right? I know I don't want the Bayhive,
Can you
but,
feel it? Can you feel it?
Right. But actually they didn't play Can You Feel It during the Victory
They
Tour.
didn't?
No, they did not.
I
But
find that hard to believe.
no, they didn't. They didn't. They did Shake Your Body, of course, but they didn't do Can You Feel It? See, you're thinking about the previous tour, the Triumph Tour.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
The Victory Tour was essentially the Thriller Tour. And it's interesting. I found this footage. I was talking to my wife yesterday. She had never seen, I was surprised at this. She told me she had never seen Michael perform Human Nature live. And I was like, so I found footage of that. So I got to share it with her. I just needed to bring that up. TPM.
Okay, Michael Jackson forever.
Well, everybody knows I'm Prince, but
I actually had the opportunity to go to Michael Jackson's funeral. And I have the program booklet right here at the funeral. I was here in LA and I got to go. It was an emotional time. It was an emotional time.
I two things with that. I co-hosted, of all things, you remember Shepard Smith of Fox News? I co-hosted the show that day. The Fox News with Shepard Smith that day, covering the funeral. Yeah. So speaking of MSNBC, I'm gonna tell this story, and I hope by chance the former president of NBC is listening, Phil Griffin, because he was always good to me, right? And when I worked at MSNBC, he was always good to me. But someone had continually told me, if you ever say no to him, he will cut you off, right? So now I was done with MSNBC. I went back to newspapers when Michael Jackson died. My wife and I were in a park watching a outdoor concert, a concert in the park. I get a call from Phil Griffin. I need you to go to California. Now, I don't work for MSNBC. I'm working at a newspaper in Pennsylvania. I want you to go to California to cover the funeral, to go to the funeral, cover the funeral, whatever. And at that point in time, I had stopped altogether dealing with the Jacksons on every level, right? And there was some animosity on both sides. And at that point, it was a lot of animosity. And I said to Phil, I don't think it's a good idea. Michael's dead, and the family's grieving. One of the last people they probably want to see is me. And I wouldn't want to do that to them. I think it's disrespectful. It would be disrespectful. Oh, come on. You got this guy says, I'm sending you a check. Fill it in for whatever you want, but I need you in California. And I said, no, don't do that. Don't do that. And I didn't. And afterwards, I think I reached out to him 3 or 4 different times for different things. Never responded. Never. So MSNBC has long been a place where you have people who do you dirty. They do you dirty.
Everything with everything is transactional. It's when they need you, they want you, and when they don't, they ignore you. That's just the game. That still happens today. When they need you, they reach out. They give you the flowers. They give you what you want. Right. When they don't need you, they don't respond. That's just the game.
Yeah. It's unconscionable that they fired Joy, though. It's just unconscionable. I'm just bringing it back to that.
When you think about Tiffany Cross, and how they did her, and the show still went on, and it just shows it goes back to Michelle Obama's speech and black jobs. I think that they are showing us who's gonna get a black job. It ain't none of us. Who's gonna get their black job taken? It's all of us. Okay, we could look at, and I feel really bad for Joy, but I don't want to take the focus off of all the federal workers this weekend. Let's talk about what happened this weekend and them getting an email on a Saturday talking about, give me 5 things y'all did last week. Yep. 5. We want 5 things of what y'all did last week.
I'm sure my sister got that. My wife was with her best friend, and her best friend got that as well. And here's the thing with that. The thing with that too is there's a law that prohibits, I should say, federal workers from sharing information outside of the federal government via email or whatever. So if they reply to that email, the problem is they're breaking the law. So that's grounds for termination, and it's grounds really if the government wants to pursue a case against them. So Musk is not in government. That's
first of all, the problem is that Elon Musk, the tweet that he sent versus the email that they sent is conflicting. You know what I'm saying? What I love the best about everything that happened this weekend is that TikTok never disappoints. So TikTok put the email address of where the email came from, and they told all of us to send them an email telling them what we did, give them 5 things that we all did. So they were spammed this weekend with millions of Americans just telling them 5 things.
That is great.
Yeah. So, and you know what? I have to give it to my white sisters. They started this charge all through TikTok. They put the email up, and they were like, just send them 5 things that y'all did last week. Just
that
5.
Is awesome.
And they was like, let's just spam the government. You want to play? Well, guess what? Ring around the rosies. Here we go.
Not really.
Here we go. And so I think that they gone, what is it? FAFO. They gonna find out that just as they did shit, We got some Miss Minnie mud pie. What she baked that lady in the hell that pie? Miss Minnie pie. We got a lot of Miss Minnie pies going around, and we can serve it up. We give you a pie, we give you a cake, we give you some sweet potatoes. We got all types of recipes for that pie, okay? And we're gonna keep serving it as y'all dish it out.
See y'all. See, Nielle comes on here every morning with her nice glasses, her hair all up and up, looking all pretty every day. But look at she's diabolical.
No,
diabolical.
I mean, hey, the resistance comes on many forms, okay? And just as they're dishing it out, we could dish it right back to them and slide it right on back. I would love to see them little white boys that opened up their emails today. And they got all these emails of us telling them what we did.
OMG. See, we're my man Orangey. You got, you know, I know he called this on Greer some time ago too, but you know, we gotta watch you ladies. Greer, what's it yesterday? She talking about she's no longer the prom queen, knowing good and well that is further from the truth as possible. And then you sitting up here talking about somebody, those Miss Minnie pies. Y'all ain't y'all. We gotta watch them, Orangey. We gotta watch them.
Man, we got pie for you, okay?
We got pie,
and we make it up real good, okay?
But that was great. That was absolute. That is great. I didn't know that. I wish I'd have known that because I'd have sent an email.
No, it's not too late.
Okay, I'm gonna send me
It's
an email.
not too late.
You gotta share that with me because that is I like that.
And I have to give it to my white sisters. They was the ones online. I seen about 4 or 5 of them with that email. Like, here we go. This is what we're about to do.
And I mentioned this at the top to Nielle. Trump ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to end a scholarship program for students who enroll at Tennessee State University and other land grant historically Black colleges. The program provided full ride scholarships to students accepted in one of the 19 land grant HBCUs around the country. And so once again, yeah, they want to dance the jig, right? And come on here with craziness with no plan. And what is it? Not even a concept of a plan, or do they have a concept of a plan? I mean, come on. Look what they're destroying people. So this flies directly in the face of what the Biden-Harris administration did, right? Record amount of financial aid to HBCUs. Also, the Biden-Harris administration was all for canceling student debt. They are the opposite.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
I don't know. I just know that we have to have that basement meeting in the fellowship hall of the church. And
Inferno
we need to
92
come together and figure out what we're gonna do. We really do.
And look, see, Mike V says, I don't see Danny talking about the HBCUs being defunded. And Inferno 932 says that story broke my heart. Students are already posting they can't afford housing. And he tells his co-president, Trump does, you say over the weekend, to get more aggressive. This is spun so far out of control. And I know that they were people were amply warned, and they just did not listen whatsoever, Nielle.
No, I mean, it goes back to, I'm still on the fence. I feel like we did our part. 92% of Black women, 78% of Black men. I mean, we did what we were supposed to do at the election. And so now we are being, now that we're coming out of this fog, we're kind of forced to find our space and our voice in this administration because it's like, it's not by choice, it's by force.
It's by force. Yeah. And I want to say this real quick too. When we talk about, because we was talking about platforms, I was on with Lauren Burke and her program last night, but we were talking about platforms. And we had Isaac Hayes III on last week, right? And had a good conversation with him. I happened to go into a fan base room with Isaac over the weekend, and it was, oh gosh, it was a lot of folks there, a couple of hundred folks at least, right? Here's what we should not do, folks, and I think Black folks do this too much when it's a Black-owned situation. It's okay to have questions. It's okay to have concerns about Black-owned entities and things of that nature. But the all-out attack on Isaac in that meeting, because people felt like they wasn't getting their check marks fast enough. You know, the verification marks. They feel like they wasn't getting enough information. First of all, you invested in something, and it's really, you have to, before you decide to invest in something, look into it. And if you're not happy with something, don't invest in it, right? You're not, my comment in that town hall meeting was, you guys are not coming after Elon. You're not going into his spaces. You using X, and you're not going into his town hall, you know, and there's cursing going on, and it's all, and name calling was going on in that. You're not doing that to Meta and Zuckerberg. Why do it to Isaac? If you're not happy, and if you're that unhappy about something, then just leave. Don't take your money out of fan base if you're that. But you know, you want to be so critical when it comes to Black-owned stuff, and I think it's so absurd. I was shaking my head throughout that meeting, and Isaac really, I have to commend him for being so calm and really responding accordingly. Nobody, his bottom line message was, listen, we're doing the best we can, and nobody forced you to be here. Now, he didn't say those words like that, but that was pretty much the message. But come on, we gotta save some space.
You want to give him some grace. The word, everybody's using the word grace now. We're gonna give him some grace.
I know, I don't like using it.
But I mean, I think that speaks to, you know, Black owned. We have to increase our village. We have to amplify our stories. We have to amplify things that are going to empower our community, because at the end of the day, Latinos do it, the Jewish community does it, the Asian community does it, and we have to be able to preserve and uplift our stories. And I think that that's a great segue into our first guest this morning. Well, we only have two guests this morning, the only guest, but it's an important guest, because at this critical space in time in our nation, Black and missing could get lost, right? Those that are impacted by loved ones that are missing, especially people of color, particularly Black folks, that message can get lost. And that's why it's so important for us at the Black Press to continue to amplify this story. So joining us now is Natalie Wilson, co-founder of Black and Missing, and Phil Lewis, president of the Washington Association of Black Journalists. He's also the deputy editor of the Huffington Post. Welcome this morning, Phil and Natalie.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us. Because we know that we are being degraded, and in our messages, if it's not us, then who is it going to be? And Black and Missing is such an important institution in our nation. We know that several states have adopted agencies within their states to amplify this message. We don't know how that's going to look in a Trump administration. But Natalie, I want to start with you first. Everybody knows, but for those who have been living under a rock, talk to us about the Black and Missing Foundation.
Well, the Black and Missing Foundation, we are a nonprofit organization that brings awareness to missing people of color across the country. You know, what we're trying to do, or what we're advocating for, are families who are desperately searching for their missing loved ones. They're not getting that media coverage or law enforcement resources to help find and bring their loved one home, or loved ones home. You know, 40% of the missing population are people that look like you and I. And they're not getting resources from the very institutions that are there to help, bring awareness to their disappearance. So Derica and I, we are using our expertise, our professions to help find and bring our missing home.
Yeah, and
Nice, nice.
I really, Natalie, we go back and I really appreciate it. It was like a breakthrough when the HBO documentary, when you guys did the HBO documentary a few years ago, a couple of years ago. And since the documentary, has there been, Natalie, more attention? Because I know that was it's always your purpose to bring more attention. Did you realize more media attention, but more importantly, did you realize more law enforcement attention to the plight of Black and missing?
We have made great strides since that HBO documentary. We have gotten more local and national media coverage because we want our missing to be household names too. We know the Gabby Petitos and the Chandra Levy's, and the names go on and on. But if I ask your viewers to name a person of color who has gotten that same level of media coverage, they typically really can't. So we have, again, come a long way as an organization. We've partnered with law enforcement agencies across the country, but we still have a lot more work to do. And that's why we've partnered with WABJ to get the word out and to keep our missing in the forefront.
Awesome.
And so, Phil, let's bring you into the conversation. Why was it important for you to link up with Black and Missing, and talk to us about how this relationship evolved?
Yeah, so thanks for having us again. That's a great question, right? So the WABJ is an organization that's been around since 1975, and it's an organization of over 350 media professionals. And so it was important for us to bring in our resources, and like you were saying earlier on the call, we should be doing what we can to utilize our resources and build media task force like this one to help bring attention and awareness to our missing, right? Because I think when you're thinking about this presidency and right, the attacks on DEI and the attacks on diversity, inclusion, in newsrooms in particular, as they lose reporters and editors, usually we're the ones that tend to be the ones right out the door, right? As you see with Joy Reid. So I think that it's important for us to build our resources, to pool our resources, and to spread awareness and do what we can. Like, we are the WABJ, and we have resources that we can utilize in our own, in our own backyard. So I think when Natalie approached us with this awesome idea, we were like, oh yeah, this is what we need to be doing. This is the work that we need to do.
Yeah, I was wondering, Phil, had you guys previously entered in any type of partnership similar to this?
Yeah, so I'm the president as of January. So I think that this is the first of it. This is the first of its kind, and Natalie can speak more to this, but I think this is the sort of the first of its kind as far as a partnership with any Black association chapter, NABJ chapter, with Black and Missing. So this is the work that we want to do. We're committed to it, and we've already had our first meeting, and it was well attended, and it just showed how powerful we are when we come together, and the thoughts that the minds that we have, super useful for this sort of project.
That's fantastic.
Phil, so you're over the Washington Black Association of Black Journalists.
Right.
Have you heard from your pool of constituents within the organization about any challenges that they're experiencing? Because a lot of these Black journalists that we're talking about work in mainstream media. Mm-hmm. They work in white-owned institutions. Yes. Have you heard anything about any challenges that they're having within, their work environment?
Absolutely. I mean, it's usually one of the main issues that we hear is that, there's nobody that looks like me on the Hill, right? Or rather, I feel siloed. That's something that I always hear when we have newsrooms, like, quite frankly, like some of the newsrooms that are on the Hill are overwhelmingly white. You know, their newsrooms are overwhelmingly white, and so because of this, they're missing stories, right? They're missing stories. Black folk, we tend to over-index as freelancers, you know, and we're not always in these sorts of newsrooms like the Politicos of the world or the Punchbowl Newses of the world, to where we can actually share our stories, and we're not always the assignment editors. We're assigning the stories that are important for people who look like us, right? And so those are some of the challenges: feeling siloed, feeling unheard, you know, in the newsrooms. And so we're trying to do what we can to advocate for our constituents in our WABJ organization.
And I want to get back to Natalie as well. One of the things I was thinking about too, Natalie, does this administration with its policy on immigration, do you fear that that's going to somehow make it more difficult for the attention, and not just the attention, but the help to find Black and missing?
You know, I've been thinking about this, and Derek and I have been talking about it. You know, this is not a DEI matter. This is a human rights issue, that our people are disappearing at an alarming rate. And we're not asking for anything different or special. We're asking for the same level of media coverage and law enforcement resources as anyone else, because as we know, there's the same cases dominating the news cycle. So to answer your question about immigration, yes, we know that, you know, the Hispanics, could be disappearing or maybe deported, and their families don't know where they are. So there could be some, you know, we can see an increase in the number of people, especially from the Hispanic community, that are disappearing and they're not being reported.
So you brought up human trafficking. I think a lot of us have a concept of what human trafficking is, and it's like it's sensationalized, right? But talk to us about the various forms of what human trafficking is on just a basic level in our country.
Okay. So what we're seeing is that human trafficking is now taking place online. We spend a lot of time online, and so are our children. And if they have a phone with any type of chat feature, you know, our kids on Roadblock or any type of gaming device or apps, they can be a victim of sex trafficking, meaning that they can meet someone online, they think that they're their friend, and then they'll connect and give personal information. So we typically think about trafficking. Someone will snatch you and put you in a white van. Now, it does happen, but what we're seeing is that there are more people, you know, disappearing and becoming victims of sex trafficking because of online trafficking. And we ask parents to, you know, be that nosy parent. See who your child is talking to. The grooming process isn't a day or two. We've had cases where the pedophile or the predator, you know, was grooming someone for 2 years. And what they do is they follow not only your child, but your child's friends. So they're thinking, well, if this person follows me and follows my schoolmates, then they must know me or know one of us. So they're very savvy. And you have to remember, sex trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we believe that it's not getting the awareness that it should, because if you try to figure out who are the ones that have an appetite for young Black girls and boys, you know, they're doctors and lawyers and judges, you know, prominent people. So we just have to have that tough conversation with our children and try to keep them as safe as possible.
And parents, you know, sometimes parents can unwittingly aid a predator. I think we've kind of had this conversation in the past. There are some things that parents should be thinking about too, because we tend to take things for granted. We like, oh, we live in a nice neighborhood. There's no crime here. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We put our guards down, right? Because, you know, we may live, as you said, in a nice community, or our mall is safe, or our school is safe. But these predators are very savvy. And we do know that Black young girls make up a large percentage of the, you know, the ones that are trafficked. And there's a study by the Urban Institute, and they interviewed traffickers. And what they said is that they target young Black girls and women because, well, for two reasons. One, they know that no one will look for them. And two, if they were found, the penalty will not be as harsh as trafficking someone else. Now, how disheartening is that? You know, our lives matter as well.
So
wait,
Phil,
Leo, let me say this though, real quick, because I just got this about when we're talking about sex trafficking. Monkey is a video chat. I'm told Shaniqua writes this to me that what they do here, and perhaps Derica, you guys are aware, you and Derica, we're older men. She says buys these young kids things, and this monkey app where you have random chats, so it matches them with anyone. Are you aware of this monkey app?
Honestly, technology is changing so rapidly. There are thousands of apps out there that our children are, you know, using. So that's one of them.
Goodness grief. I'm sorry, Neil. Go ahead.
That's okay. Phil, I wanted to know from the Washington Association of Black Journalists, how is the organization going to help champion these stories for Black and missing? Like, is there a call to action or a plan?
Yeah, so I believe sometime in the spring, we are going to come out with a set of comprehensive guidelines to deliver to newsrooms nationwide. And what we're working on right now is there's a couple of different things. We want to make sure we provide information for reporters to maybe find out how they can best engage with families, right? Or using appropriate and informed language. For example, not using the word runaway, right? Or, you know, actually humanize. We want to make sure we're using language that humanizes people. We want to provide resources for subject matter experts, so like the AMFI and learning about all the nationwide and local alerts, like the Ebony alerts in California. So we just want to be able to provide resources for newsrooms, because it just sometimes the newsrooms are just maybe so overwhelmed that they don't know quite where to go. But if it's here, and if there's a comprehensive guide for them, then they'll know what to do.
I see a comment, and perhaps you, Phil and Natalie, let folks know how they can get help. But TPMD says that her friend's daughter was trafficked, and the police did nothing, or is doing nothing. Could you tell folks what to do in these cases?
Absolutely. Please contact the Black and Missing Foundation at bamfi.org, and we will help you or the family navigate, you know, working with law enforcement. And that's a challenge that we also face. Families want to report their loved one missing, and, you know, law enforcement may dismiss the case and say, you know what, they ran off with their boyfriend, they'll come back, or not take a police report. But we have law enforcement agents on our team that can help the family navigate and work with law enforcement to get that missing persons police report done. And then we'll do what we have to do on our side in getting that media coverage and community engagement to get the word out, because time is of the essence when someone is missing, and they can be anywhere. I'm not sure how long the child has been missing.
You brought up the Ebony alert. I actually saw former California State Senator Steve Bradford on Friday, who was responsible for helping pass the Ebony alert law here in California. Have you found that to be effective in with Black and missing, Black and brown missing? And do you see other states adopting the ebony alert in other states?
Well, love former Senator Bradford, thankful for him to create the ebony alert. But the issue that we are seeing, and we're hearing this complaint from families, is that law enforcement, they're still the ones that are charged with issuing that alert. So we're running into the same type of issues. Oh, the child ran away, or they're just not getting the alert. So we have to be mindful and hold law enforcement feet to the fire so that they can issue these types of alerts. And yes, states and jurisdictions and cities across the country are now taking a look at systems that are in place and creating alerts. Minnesota has had a task force. They now have an office specifically on missing and murdered Black women and girls. And I believe Wisconsin and some other states are trying to do the same thing now with this, again, new administration. I'm not sure where they are in the process, but there was definitely a lot of talk and a lot of interest in creating offices and task force around the country to look at this issue.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to state legislator in New Jersey, Leah Webb, who is also on the forefront of pushing to have a Black and missing office within the state of New York. So shout out to Leah Webb for that.
And another question, it comes from Angela Connolly. She says that she says, I've had at least 5 young ladies want someone to care for their unwanted newborns. Where will they turn? And she's wondering, are they trafficking the children voluntarily? Are people trafficking children voluntarily?
They could be. There's so much going on. We're starting to see in our communities, it's called familial sex trafficking. And an officer told me this. He said it's a family business. So the grandmother was trafficked, now the daughter, and now the child. So I'm not surprised at all. That is something that we're seeing more and more every single day, where the family members are trafficking the child, whether it's a daughter or son or a niece or nephew.
Yeah, but that doesn't stop the mission, right? There's always that caveat, that bad apple. You can't paint everybody with that large brush, and that's been a big part of the struggle, right? Of painting particularly Black females with the same brush when they go missing. You've told us before that the first thing is, okay, they must have ran away with a boyfriend, or these excuses that are made instead of just immediately looking for them. And also, I want you to tell folks about this 48 hours, or was it 24 or 48 hours that people believe that you have to wait to report someone missing? Could you talk about that?
Sure. Well, before I talk about that, I just want our community to know that we need to stop labeling our children as being fast or promiscuous. A child cannot consent to sex. So if you see a 13-year-old that's pregnant, something happened. And we just need to be mindful of that and throw away the stigma. What is happening is that our young girls and boys are not seen as victims. And especially our girls, they are adultified. And the perception is what happened to you, you deserve it because you come from that part of the community. But no, these are our daughters and sons, and we need to protect them. As far as, I'm sorry, and your next question was?
Talk about the whole 48 hours or the time that you're supposed to wait before you report someone missing.
Right. So there's a lot of myths out there because of Law and Order and various TV shows that, the perception is you have to wait a certain time frame to report your loved one missing. I know in the District of Columbia, in Illinois, and many states, you can report your loved one missing immediately, again, because time is of the essence. So you need to understand the laws in your jurisdiction. And if you have a loved one, especially if they have, special needs or special circumstances, critical, missing, report them right away. And make sure you get a missing person's report number and the detective's information.
Mm-hmm. Well, Natalie, we want to thank you and Phil for joining us today. And of course, we know in the state of our nation that we are the village. And so we're here for you to amplify your stories, to get the word out. So let's not be strangers. And thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you all so much for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much, as always. Such an important issue. Such an important issue. And we have to
impacts
continue.
us the most. Yeah.
We have to continue to lift it up. I know that we've done, we've had Natalie on in the past, but it's too, there's too much of a space in between having her on. So we do have to keep updating our people, our viewers, our readers, our listeners on the plight of Black and missing.
Yeah, I think it's critical because she said 40%. 40% is us that are missing, but we make up what, about 10% of the US population, but 40%. Our percentages are always high when it comes to oppression, disenfranchisement, sickness. Our percentages are high, but yet we're the minority of the minorities. And so, especially under this Trump administration, it is totally going to be up to us to make sure that we amplify our stories and kind of amplify our community to get more involved. I like to say with Black and Missing, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's they was founded back in the mid 2000s, 2000, I want to say 2006. I might be off a year or two, but and the story behind the Black and Missing, Natalie and Derica, it's amazing because they decided, look, somebody's got to do something about this,
right?
And they've been going strong all these years, so good for them.
With limited resources too, it's not like they have the funding for it. They do it out of necessity, which is the story of Black folks in this country. It ain't like we got the resources or the money, but we know what needs to be done and we make it happen. And Natalie has been, I've called Natalie several times because people like somebody missing or whatever, and she's always like, what do you need? How can I support? I'm here for you. And so that is an important organization to our community. And so if, I'm always like, I ask the pastor, do you just have to tithe to the church? Is the church the only, can we tithe to like Black Lives Matter? Can we tithe to Black and Missing? If the 10% is supposed to help people, does it only have to go to the church? We're going to ask the pastor. We're going to ask him about that because that's one of my questions.
Oh my, well, let us know the answer.
No, we're going to ask them together.
David Youngblood says, stop adultifying our children. 100%. 100%. And Orange G says there's New Orleans has a serious human trafficking problem. I would imagine places like New Orleans, probably places like Las Vegas, Atlantic City. There's certain areas that that you have to be extra careful, but really you have to be extra careful everywhere. It's like you can't take anything for granted anymore.
Right.
And I just think too that, and like you said, with the way things are now, especially with the way this administration is moving, look, vigilance is an understatement now.
For sure.
You can't be vigilant enough. So,
and I'd be willing to bet. A lot of Trump's rich friends got some human trafficking going on. And they making the beds, they sweeping the floors. I'm just saying. Allegedly.
Yeah, no, listen. Allegedly, yeah. Listen, who can really say that they would be surprised if that came out? Come on. Who could say that? But the Attorney General was a Pam Bondi, said that she has the Epstein files on her desk. And she said that last week. And of course, the cynics, which includes myself. So why is it still on your desk? Are you redacting certain names. Donald Trump, for one, because we know he visited and hung out with Epstein.
It
There's
ain't just
video.
Donald Trump. It's a lot of people we
Right,
love. It's a lot of people
right,
we love on that list.
right, right. But the thing is, it's about who she is redacting from that list, right? Because you know she's not going to put that out there if Trump or a Trump family member or certain individuals are on that list. So come on. And folks are gonna eat that up when they do put it out. But you got to understand that when they do put something like that out, it's been altered.
Mhm.
That's the
I,
bottom line.
I don't believe nothing coming out that Trump administration. I don't believe nothing that I no.
Hmm. But then you'll have your black magas coming up saying, "See, they lied about him." Yeah, you idiot.
Look, I'm
And
gonna
for-
need you to
and-
stop going hard on them. Wait till they get on here. We need them to come back. We want to have a
uh,
conversation.
oh gosh. Yeah, Greer's talking about the outrage around the country about these lawmakers. There was some booing going on, right? Where did that happen at? Folks of rising up. They are rising up against some
They
of these
should. They
lawmakers.
should.
Yeah.
And we'll give you a tip. We'll give you some intel. So most federal congressional members, we're talking about the House of Representatives and the state senators, they travel back to their districts on Thursday, Friday, because they spend the weekend in their districts, means your hometown, and they have town hall meetings and they're popping up at different events. And so, if you are outraged at what is happening, find out who your congressional member is in the Senate and in the House of Representatives, and pull up on them on the weekends. Go to your town hall meetings and let them know how you feel, because that is the only way that they are going to feel the pressure.
Mhm.
Because the pressure that they're getting when they're back in Washington, D.C. is from the Trump administration. And I'm really concerned, and we need to be concerned about our lawmakers, because I saw one of the Proud Boys got arrested near the Capitol. And so it made me
Leader.
think, yeah, so it made me think that these people are walking the halls of Congress trying to intimidate mostly Republicans, because I don't think the Democrats are going for it, but they are there to intimidate lawmakers to doing Trump's bidding. Just pop into office and say, hey, that's an intimidating factor.
Mhm.
And so all of these things are happening, while we're going about our day to day, but they're going into the Capitol, and we know what happened on January 6th. So imagine if you have rioters, Trumpsters walking the halls of Congress, because you can go to Congress if you want. You can walk the halls of the offices if you want. You got to go through a security clearance, but it's an intimidation factor. And that's why Donald Trump released all those people from prison, because they are indebted to him now. And they feel like they could do whatever they want because he's going to pardon them. And so there are multiple levels of things that are happening that are making the news headlines and that are not. And one of them is those people are terrorizing or intimidating our lawmakers. And so the best way for us to respond is when our lawmakers come back to our districts and they have town halls, that we pull up, we show up, and we let them know how we feel about what's happening with this Trump administration.
The Inferno 932 says they are foot soldiers.
Yeah.
And we saw Enrique Tarrio get into a heated argument at the Capitol over the weekend with one of the Capitol police officers who was one of the victims of the January 6th attack. And I just thought, wow, that is just disgusting.
That's intimidation. That's
Yeah.
intimidation. See, look, concerned constituents confront GOP lawmakers. Pull up, show up. Okay, let's do
We're
that.
seeing this kind of thing all across the country.
I'm not
and
saying
it's interesting. It is
anything
Republicans
else
having to
but
face this
voice
from their
your opinion in
constituents.
those meetings.
But you're also seeing
Let's just say
Democrats
this: you don't even
who are
have to live in that
largely-
district. Let's start targeting certain lawmakers, and let's pull up to their town halls and let them know how we feel, because 2026 is next year. And that's when we vote on a lot of congressional members, state and House. And if you want to begin to change what's happening with the Trump administration, your first try is at changing what Congress looks like right now.
Well, and he's not, again, he's not even using Congress to create this havoc. You know, he's yet to use Congress. Now some appropriations are going through now, and they also have to try and see if they are going to allow for a government shutdown in a few weeks, and so he'll become a little bit more active with Congress now. But he's done all this damage outside of Congress.
But the thing about it is, he doesn't need Congress because Republicans hold the majority. And so the only way Congress is going to matter is if you flip it, because he has all of the Republican Party afraid of him. They're not going to go against him. So he don't need Congress, because he knows when he does, he just going to call them up and say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. And they're going to do it. So no, he doesn't need them. Now let's FAFO and flip it to where you have Democrats in charge. He's going to have no choice but to deal with Congress. He don't have to deal with them right now, because he runs the whole gamut. He has all three branches of government. He has the executive branch, he has Congress, and he has the judicial right in his pocket. Yeah. So he's a la carte. He got everything. But let's see what happens when he doesn't have all that power. Let's see what happens then. So 2026, y'all, it doesn't start next year. It starts right now.
Okay, let's listen to this.
If you ask us to show up, Congressman Tonko, we will show up. But it cannot be. We have to take the gloves off. We can't wait for protocol. They're not playing by the rules. We have to take it through them. When I saw you at those places, I saw you next to Maxine Waters. Yet I was so proud that my representative was on the front line, right there. But I thought about Jimmy Carter, and I thought about John Lewis. And I know what John Lewis would have done. He would have gotten arrested that day. Make them outlaw you. We will stand behind you. We will be there with you. I will get arrested with you.
He made some real interesting points, and these people are cheering him. He said, listen, you need us to show up in Washington, we'll show up. And I think the interesting part of that, one of the interesting things with that, I mean, he's invoking John Lewis and Maxine Waters. These are mostly white folks.
Yeah, it's their turn. It's their turn. They the ones that got Trump in office. It wasn't us, it was them. So we need them to do just what they're doing right now. Okay. We still deciding on when we gonna pull up. Y'all handle that.
Tried to tell you. See,
y'all handle that.
Same thing pretty much Chris saying.
But I'll say something to his point. I'll tell you a quick story. I'll be really quick. When he said John Lewis would have got arrested. So I don't know if you remember the Jenna 6. Remember Jenna 6 in Louisiana? And so here in LA, Miss Brenda March Mitchell from the Sentinel, she and I worked together I did my first freedom ride. From California to Louisiana. We raised about $10,000. We got the buses. Everybody came to the Sentinel. They donated all of this food. This is when I talked about the Black press is news, views, and advocacy. Because it's not that we just don't talk about it, but we act. So we took a bus trip down. Raised all this money. Everybody, community, LA showed up. They loaded the buses full of food. We had all types of people on the bus. Freedom ride. That's a whole nother story. We get there. I come back. So Miss Brenda calls me into the conference room of the Sentinel. She said, "Come here, have a seat." So I sit down and she says, Y'all done raised all that money. Y'all got all these news cameras here at the Sentinel. Y'all went down there, she said, and y'all left the boy in jail. She said, back in the day, the preachers would have fasted, people would have got arrested, and they wouldn't have left until that boy got out of jail. She said, next time you do something like this, finish what you start. And I was like, oh, but that speaks to the movement of the still. There we go. I was there. And so what I'm saying is that you have to finish what we have to have that passion to where, like you said, John Lewis would have got arrested. He would have got and we went down there. We made all this noise. Michael Basin did a live broadcast. Al Trump, but we left the boy in jail. Thank God he got out, and now he's an attorney, and the good things are happening for him. But we got to be ready to do what's necessary, y'all. We have to, like, Rosa Parks got arrested. Martin Luther King got arrested. I'm not saying that has to happen, but if we are really about to be about this work that needs to happen, it's all hands on deck. It really is.
Well, David Youngblood is agreeing with you, and Inferno 932 says, how many are we willing to sacrifice? Waiting, planes are falling out of the skies, lynchings still happen, and police brutality has increased. This is Trump America, and it's spreading because in Germany, Elon Musk has spent some time over there prior to these elections, and the conservatives have won there in Germany. They're celebrating this in a lot of the same fashion that Trump's people are celebrating here. So it is spreading, Neil.
Little fires everywhere.
Yeah, it's spreading. Well, it is still time for it is time, not still time, but it is time for some Black History moments. So I'll kick it off if you don't mind.
Let's go. Let's do it.
On this date in 1864, Rebecca Lee became the first African American woman to receive a medical degree, an MD degree.
I love it. And on this day in 1865, Kentucky refuses to ratify the abolition of slavery.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something you think about
Something
today?
changed, but they still say the same.
Oh gosh. And on this day in 1931, Lily Brown, the civil rights activist, was born in Troy, Alabama.
Okay. And on this day in 1974, the National Association of Blacks in Criminal Justice was founded.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to go back though to someone who some might remember, many might not. I remember him well. On this day in 1940, a man named James Albert Ellis, better known as Jimmy Ellis, was born in Louisville, Kentucky. Jimmy Ellis went on to win the WBA World Heavyweight Championship after beating Jerry Quarry in April of 1968. He fought a lot of greats like Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Ernie Shavers, and more before he retired at the age of 35 in 1975. And he died of complications from dementia at the age of 74 in 2014. But he was a warrior, an absolute warrior. I mean, he took Ali and Frazier and other Foreman and those guys to the limit. I remember him well. Jimmy Ellis.
All right, Jimmy Ellis. All right, let's fast forward to the year of 1999.
Yes.
And singer, songwriter, rapper, producer, actress. She even played on Young and the Restless. I don't know if y'all remember that. Lauryn Hill. She won 5 Grammys for her one and only solo album. Okay. The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, still one of my favorites. In addition, Hill won including Album of the Year and Best New Artist. I had an opportunity to see Lauryn Hill do when the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill turned 25, and she did that album from front to back with all of the classroom snippets. And she was on time. She was on time. Okay. She showed up.
That's important. She was on
At the
time.
Hollywood Bowl. She was there. And when I tell you it was a memorable time, I don't care. Lauryn Hill rules. And a lot of these female artists, hip hop artists, cannot hold a match.
One of the greatest albums ever,
that
period.
album right there.
And an argument could be made that it is the greatest album, but it is certainly, without question, one of the greatest albums ever. And I'm not talking about rap albums or R&B. I'm talking in general.
I mean, it spoke of love. It spoke of social justice. It was just so many layers to that. And the fact that Lauryn Hill has only released one album and she can still eat off of it to this day, that speaks to her artistry. Okay. And it speaks to some of y'all need to go back into the studio and try again.
And speaking of, before we get to another Black History moment, speaking of back in the studio, the best news that came out of the weekend, by far the best news, is not only is Rihanna dropping a new album after 8 years.
Maybe, allegedly.
No, she is. She's been working on it, she said, for 8 years. She wanted to give something. It's coming out. Stop being a hater, Niel. Okay?
I'm just saying, Rihanna,
we don't do Rihanna hate here. Okay.
I'm okay with, I'm a Fenty product consumer. So I'm okay. I love how she is like, y'all are not gonna force me into doing anything I don't feel like it. I'm just saying, I don't know, because she's been saying that for 8 years. So I'll just wait.
She has been telling folks don't bother her about it for 8 years, but now she's coming out. She's doing a residency in London. Allegedly. Oh, come on. I've already been asked to go. And so I might have to take a hiatus in the middle of the summer. Y'all better, you know what, Niel, you better leave my girl alone, okay?
I love Rihanna. I mean, I'm part of the Navy. I'm part of the Navy. I am. I'm Beehive. I'm Navy. You know, I'm part of all of it.
You just armed and ready at all times.
At all times, but I just still am not convinced. I don't think she's coming out with the album until she has a little girl. That's what I think. I think she got one more baby to push out, and then she'll give us an album.
They did say that they're working on a son, apparently, according to the lawyer.
Son, they have two sons. They're working on
the lawyer said that they told him that when, not if, when they have another son, they were going to name the son after the lawyer. So we'll see.
Rihanna also said that she wanted a little girl too.
Okay, so maybe the girl had to wait. Maybe she got to wait. But you know, the real thing is, for me, when it comes to those two, Rihanna and ASAP, is that they appear. You know, we have to say appear because we never know what goes on in people's private lives, but they appear extremely happy and in love. And they've been together. They've had a couple of kids, and you know, sometimes things can get a little stale, but they seem like they absolutely adore each other, and you love to see it. If people talk about black love, well, if you believe in that, then they look like they're the poster couple for that.
Well, it makes it easy when you got $1 billion, and you could wake up and decide if you want to be in San Tropez, or you want to be in LA, or you want to be home in Barbados. I mean, that makes it easy. Okay, love is easy when you got $1 billion. But they
love should have brought you home last night.
I mean, who wouldn't want that life? Okay,
what a life. Somebody mentioned Beyonce. They saving their coins for Beyonce. Yeah. I was having this conversation. Let me ask you a question. So is she only going to do Cowboy Carter stuff?
Yeah, she should. It's the Cowboy Carter tour. Okay,
I understand that, but now, is it a situation where do you want your artists just to do something just when you go to them, see them in concert, just something from one album only?
If it's the Cowboy Carter tour, I want to hear that album. So
Only.
Beyonce, so there are two things that are happening. Now, she's not saying this is the Beyonce tour, because if she was giving us the Beyonce tour, then she would have a mixture of everything. But just like Renaissance, when you went to Renaissance, you wanted to hear Church Girl. You wanted to hear all of the songs from that album. And she did maybe, I say maybe 3, possibly 4 songs that, from other albums, but she focused on Renaissance. So this is the Cowboy Carter tour. And we want country. I know for my outfit, I want the cowboy hats. I'm getting the outfit. So if I'm coming in my cowgirl attire, I want a hee-haw. I want a do-si-do.
Hey, so we talked earlier about Michael Jackson, and I saw him a number of times, greatest performer ever, concert performer ever, in my opinion. And the one issue I always had with Michael, and that he never just stuck with one album. I mean, the Victory Tour was really, I was just talking about this yesterday, it was really the Thriller Tour, but he always, played from his various catalog, right? Prince, various catalog. Most artists, I just don't want, if I'm a fan of an artist, I just don't want them just to play just from one album. I want to hear what got you here. I want to hear what got you to that album. I just don't want to hear. I mean, Beyonce fans are different.
Stacey.
Beyonce fans are different.
Stacey, let's be clear. This is the Cowboy Carter tour.
I get it. I get it.
She might give you one or two songs, but that's what it is.
No, okay, but artists will name the tour after their most recent album. That is a given for the most part. For the most part, it's a given. That artist named the tour after the most recent album. It's the push album.
That's not true, because when
it is true.
When Chris Brown went on tour, he didn't name it after his last project. It was just a Chris Brown tour.
Right, but many of them do. There are exceptions. I agree with that. But my point, though, is I'm not complaining. It's not a complaint, because I'm not going to go see Beyonce. I'm not paying that money to see Beyonce. I don't, I'm just not into her like that. I salute her success and that she is, she's the queen. I salute all that. But if I'm going to see my favorite artist, like I said, Prince did the Musicology album and tour, right? But you heard from Purple Rain, you heard from Dirty Mind, you heard from 1999 and all his other stuff, as well as his good stuff from Musicology. That's what I want from everybody that I go see. We saw Alicia Keys a year or so ago, and she pulled out the catalog.
Right.
And that's what I want to see in a concert. I don't care how many times, and I want them to switch it up. Again, I have to use Michael as an example, because he once said, I do the same songs the same way because my fans demand it. And I say that's bull, because Michael Jackson could sit in a chair, as it was proven at one of the award shows, and his fans will come out and see him. I think you should, you don't have to, obviously, but you should. People, especially today, Michael was in a different time. Today, when people are paying hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to see a concert, I think, my words are, you empty the tank. It's no 15, 16 song performance. You come in there like Bruce Springsteen and give them 3 hours. I
disagree.
Listen,
disagree.
If I'm spending that type of money, that's what I want now.
Okay, so we know that but this is a theme tour. So we know, so Beyonce said that she's going to put out 3 albums, 3 acts. So we had the Renaissance, which was like the house vibe. She did the tour. So now this one is the country music. She's going to do the tour. Now she still can do a tour after the 3rd act that encompasses all of her body of work. But this is the Cowboy Carter tour. That's it, and that's all.
I'm not.
Don't come there
criticizing
expecting no to
I'm
the
not
left,
going
to the
there.
left. To the
I'm
left.
not
We
going.
not doing that. We doing my hope is when I go to this concert that Miley Cyrus comes out and they sing 2 of America's Most Wanted. That's like one of my favorite songs on the album. But
Okay,
I want to hear Cowboy Carter.
Right, but you just said what I've been saying. You want to hear something else too.
No, that's
what I
on
was
the
saying.
no, that song is on Cowboy Carter.
Okay, it is. Okay.
It's on Cowboy
Listen,
Carter.
it's not criticized. I'm just saying what I would prefer from the artists that I like. You know, I saw, like I said, I saw Alicia Keys a year or so ago, and she went through all her hits, you know, and it was just, to me, it was great.
But Alicia Keys is not doing, she's not doing themed projects. I think what makes this different is that Beyonce intentionally decided to do themed projects. She did a house project. Now she's doing the country project, and the third one is debatable. Some people say it's going to be rock music. I would prefer for her to do a hip hop album because quietly kept, she's a bad MC. Okay. I prefer a hip hop album, but they say it's going to be rock. I don't know how I feel about that. But
okay.
I didn't know I was going to love country music the way I love it now because of this project. So we'll see.
Listen, RNG says the only person worth going to see in concert is George Clinton. He will perform until the cows come home. What?
Okay.
Oh gosh, George Clinton. Bring the funk, huh? Bring the funk.
Bring the funk. Okay.
All right. So our last but not least Black History moment. You want to take it?
You could take it. How about you take it?
All right. On this date, just 5 years ago in 2020, Katherine G. Johnson, the NASA mathematician who played a key role in helping America win the space race and whose story was featured in the films Hidden Figures, died on this date in 2020. Yeah. Isn't that something?
I would like for Elon Musk to thank Miss Catherine because all that SpaceX stuff he doing, it equals back to Miss Catherine. Okay, you want to erase us? You can't erase us because you wouldn't be up in space if it wasn't because of us. Okay.
Look at that. Neo got the knife sharpened. And look, real quick, David Youngblood wanted to add the only person he would pay thousands of dollars to see is Stevie Wonder with something from every album, but mostly songs in the key of life. Wow, Stevie Wonder.
Stevie
It's
Wonder.
another one that puts on a lot.
I mean, I like Stevie, but
not now, huh?
Not now.
Wow, he's lost his luster to you.
I mean, if I was gonna pick somebody of that era, it would probably be Charlie Wilson or the Isley Brothers.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I've not really heard people say that they would pick somebody from that era over Stevie to see today. Okay. That's cool. Charlie Wilson.
But I guess too, maybe we're spoiled here in LA because Stevie Wonder actually owns the only Black-owned radio station in LA, KGLH Radio.
That's what Bria says. That's very LA. She's from LA. It's very LA.
And so we hear Stevie Wonder all the time. You could turn on the radio and he might be on, you know, just talking, and he does his house full of toys every Christmas to where he fundraises. So we get a Stevie Wonder concert every year here in LA. So maybe we're just a little spoiled.
You're spoiled, yeah. And listen, for very, very last thing, Orangey says he will pay good money to see JJ Fad.
Supersonic. Hey.
On that note, folks, we appreciate y'all. As always, please hit the subscribe button. Tell everyone to subscribe as well. And we'll be back at you tomorrow. And Neil, maybe we'll get her to sing something else tomorrow.
Yeah, and make sure you read a Black newspaper. Go to blackpressusa.com. Find a Black newspaper in your community, support it, read it, because we are more important than ever these days, because we're going to be the only ones to tell you the truth.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow.